Hello, my name is Beth Dixon, and I work in the math lab in the Math and Behavioral and Social Science building in room 222. And if you need help, you can come and see me. This lesson is about the order of operations. So let's start with a very simple problem. 5 plus 2 times 3. There are two operations here in this problem, an addition and a multiplication. If we had no order of operations given to us, then we could choose which order we wanted to do. So I'm going to choose to do the addition first. 5 plus 2 and get the 7 times 3 and get 21. Then let's look at what would happen if we did the multiplication first. If I do the multiplication first, doing the 2 times 3 first, 2 times 3 gives me 6. Then I still have the addition to do. 5 plus 6. 5 plus 6 gives me 11. Notice we don't get the same answer if we do the operations in different order. Therefore, the order is as important as the numbers. Again, notice the first time we got 21. If we do the addition first, then the multiplication, we got 21. If we do the multiplication first and get the 6, then the addition, we get 11. So if we had no order of operations decided for us, then every time we had a problem, half of the world would do it one way, the other half of the world would choose to do it the other way, and we'd have no consistency. Therefore, we have to have consistency because math has to have predictability in our answers. So different operations are given different priorities. We have a decision to make about what those priorities are. So someone a long time ago decided that there were ways to tell which order of operation was correct. Now, actually, both of my answers were correct because I used the parentheses to tell us which one we were doing first. But without the parentheses, as I took off the parentheses here on this problem, you have to stop and think, which operation has the higher priority? Which one says, hey, look at me, do me first? Which one of the operation says, I'm the most important? You have to do my operation in the higher order. I get done first. I'm the first in line. Okay? Well, in this case, of the two answers, if there are no parentheses and nothing that says I was actually here before you thought I was, the multiplication gets done first. So without any other clues, we should have done the 6 first and then the addition and got 5 plus 6 and then got 11. So that's the way to do it without any parentheses. So again, different operations are given different priorities. But remember, addition and multiplication are not the only two operations. So let's look at some of the operations and what priorities they are given. What things should we do first? Well, of all the things we should do first, we should do anything that's in a parentheses or other groupings. Now, some of the other groupings you'll see now, some of them you won't see till later classes. These other groupings include things like fractions, square roots, absolute values, and you may see some additional ones, but anything that group your data or group your numbers are your other groupings. After you've taken care of things that group your data, the next thing you should look at are things that are your exponents. So your first is parentheses. Next on your list is your exponents. After your exponents, you're going to do your multiplication and division from left to right. Or your multiplication, if it's all multiplication, remember you may have some commutative property or associative property, and if you're in the if you've not covered that, don't worry, you'll get to it eventually. Then lastly, what are the last operations to be taken care of? Who's last in line? Well, that's your addition and subtraction. And the keywords here, parentheses, it's not writing, there we go, parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, addition and subtraction. Now the next bit has to do with which teacher you have. Most of our teachers will use a phrase to help you remember these key words: parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, addition and subtraction. If you happen to have Mr. Knight, he'll use a different set of words, but it's okay because it's still these operations. He just uses different words. He'll use the word groupings here and some different words for these as well. But for this lesson and for this purpose, I'm going to identify on the P, the E for exponents, the M and the D for multiplication and division, and the A and the S for addition and subtraction. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, addition and subtraction. And most of you may remember it. It's please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Please for parentheses, excuse for exponents, my dear for multiplication and division, Aunt Sally for addition and subtraction. Now be careful here. We don't do multiplication and then go back and do the division. We do the multiplication and division from left to right. And we do our addition and subtraction together as a group from left to right. That's why they're on the same line together, because they have equal priority. Multiplication does not have a higher priority than division just because it comes first. It just comes first so that it makes sense to say my dear as opposed to dear my. We could actually say just as easily, please excuse dear my Sally Aunt, but doesn't make as much sense. So we'll stick with please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Let's look now at some examples to do. Let's look at 7 plus 3 times 4. And remembering what we just covered, we want to look first for parentheses. Since there are no parentheses, we look for exponents. There are no exponents, so the next thing we want to look for is our multiplication and division. There's just the one multiplication, so we want to do 3 times 4 and get 12. Everything else gets brought down 7 plus. Notice how I do the multiplication first without looking and without writing down the 7 plus. Other teachers may do it different, but I technically even cover up the 7. Now I can't show you that on my paper because you can't see where I'm covering it up on the computer, but I literally put my hand over the 7 and just look at the 3 times the 4. Write down the 12, then uncover the 7 and bring down the 7 plus. Then I do the addition. 7 plus 12 then gives me 19. Let's look at this problem. Please, parentheses. There are parentheses in this problem, so I should do what's inside the parentheses first, even though it's a subtraction. The parentheses says, I've been waiting in line longer. So 28 minus 3 gives me 25. Then I copy down the rest of the problem. Again, I covered up that part of the screen. And now I'm going to do and bring down the divided by 5. I've only got one operation left. I'll complete that operation. 25 divided by, and yes, that doesn't look much like 5, so let me rewrite it. 25 divided by 5 then gives me my answer, which is 5. Now let's look at this one. 5 plus 2 raised to the third power. No parentheses. Next on the order of operations is exponents. Exponents are shown here with 2 to the third power. So we want to do the exponent operation first. 2 to the third gives me 2 times 2 times 2. Well, 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8. Now, we normally would not write this underneath this problem. So I'm going to erase that out. And bring down just the 8. Then we have 5 plus 8. 5 plus 8 is 13. And now that's the end of those order of operations. In this case, all the order of operations we've done and as examples here really only had 2 operations to deal with. So these are the very simplest of the order of operations and give you an introduction to those. To do the more complicated ones with more than 2 operations, please watch the second part of this, more order of operations, as the second podcast. Thank you for watching.